All right, everyone, we are back. Thanks for participating in the poll. Looks like many people either have worked with an external vendor or have not at all. Those were the two most popular answers. So I will turn it over here to Kristi with Clinical Research Billing. I am going to spotlight you. All right, Kristi.
Okay, great. How do I share my screen? Oh, it's down here, right?
Yes, the green arrow.
The green arrow.
Zoom is hard.
Well,
It-
yeah, I'm used to Teams. So let
yes.
me move that, and let me move that. And now it's still not sharing. Okay, share this.
There we go.
Is that right?
Yes, yes, there we go. We can see.
Okay, so you have my screen. Okay,
Yes,
cool. All right, is everybody ready?
yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm the final session, and we've had some great ones on operations, but I want to make sure that you're actually getting paid for all the work that you do. So what we do is billing, and we can log into your CRIO account, and we'll use the information that you guys enter and your source and so forth to make sure that you're getting paid according to the budget, according and for the work that you're doing, because you need that in order to continue doing all the great things that you do. So our job is just to make sure you get paid. So this is a sandbox. This isn't a real study. It's not a real site. I think it's we just made all this stuff up to get some stuff in. So I just wanted to kind of move around in here and show you how we do the billing that we do. And you may know all this, but I may be able to dive in and show you some things that are worthwhile. Also try to give a general explanation. So this is your study budget page. This is your patient stipends, your visit auto pay, screen fails, your screen fail setups up here, along with the holdback setup, which actually works pretty well. Um, and then what's interesting about this is that you can actually dive in here and go into your procedures and be able to link to the procedures right from the source in order to be able to bill them. So you can put the amounts on here, and you can go in and set that up. So let's go into view all. So if you want to set one up, let's say you want to set a pregnancy test because you get tired of invoicing pregnancy tests for men, and you want to make sure that that pregnancy test was done, you can go into the advanced logic and go into the question and say, yes, that pregnancy test was performed, and put that out here. And that's going to come in down here. And then you can put in, say, your amount. Say it's $45, just making this up. And this will make it invoiceable. Okay, so that's great. It's very easy. It's very easy to set up. You can also set it up based upon whether the patient's randomized or screen failed or your unscheduled visit. So maybe for your stipends, you want to make sure you pick those up on unscheduled visits. So you set that up. However, sometimes there's a problem because you want to get in here and what you're looking for isn't there. You know, like if you want to do you want to make sure there's a daybed fee for your liver biopsy, or you want to know if they use the ultrasound guidance on the liver biopsy, but that's not in the source, then what we recommend is that you work with the site, you work with the coordinator and the people who are setting, you can't just go in and change the source, but you might ask them if you can, for the billing people, if you can go in and create a few questions. So we like to have an invoiceable procedures set up here where these are just invoiceable procedures. These are things that we want to know for each study. Maybe that repeat consent, is it really a true reconsent? Was dry ice used? That's a great question, because just because the labs were done doesn't mean that dry ice was used necessarily. Uh, and additional procedures, you can put all kinds of things in here. You can make it very simple, yes and no. You don't want to make it too difficult for the coordinators. So that works well. On that liver biopsy question, I would want to go in and say, okay, was the liver biopsy done? That's not that hard to get out of the source. Was the ultrasound guidance used? Did the patient stay in the facility so that I can get the daybed fee? Were the samples sent? Was dry ice used? And did they get that biopsy stipend? You can actually ask these questions and get specific answers that you can then bring back over to your finance, and you'll see where that is down here. If I go into procedure logic, select advanced, and down to the bottom. So this liver biopsy was the one we were just looking at, and voila, there are your questions. Yes or no, all these questions. So I added these things, the dry ice. You can say, oh, well, okay, let's add the dry ice and get the dry ice on that. So all those kinds of things can be added in over here, and then you pick them up and put your rates in and make it invoiceable. So I find that to be really helpful, to get all of those procedures that might be difficult to get otherwise. So that's one thing. Then you're going to see those come up here on your invoiceable items, and you're going to see those. Here's your invoiceable items. Now, sometimes some things are invoiceable for some visits, but not for others. So maybe for the urinalysis, it's part of the screening visit, but it's not part of the other visits. So it's not invoiceable for visits 1 or 2. I'll actually make these notes. And then if it's visit, in this case, visit 2, I look at it, look at my notes, but I go, oh, well, I'm not invoice that. And so I go over here and I hide it, and it goes down here actually. So you can get it back. So if those things didn't happen and this says that, then you redo that and it'll be gone. And so it's not going to get invoiced, but you can still get it back if you want to. So that's very handy. Then if you actually put it on the invoice and you're saying, well, I don't want it to say that on the invoice, then you can create the invoice. You can come over here. It's very easy to actually edit that text. So you put this on and you just go in and, you have to be paying attention, but you just go in and get rid of it. And you do that and you're there. So that's how that works. It works really well for those items that are only invoiceable for sort of maybe a physical exam. If it's extra, then you're going to need to do that. So those things work well to try to get all these things. For fees, for example, I was building a chart review invoice over here. So let's go back. This was going to be chart review. So I've got a couple of these things in. The nice thing about these fees over here is that it keeps track. So in this case, I set it up for a full $4,000 for chart review. It's $40 per chart. So you add this to the invoice. It's in this case, now I have it set, it's going to take that whole thing. But if it's like, it was just one chart and you set that up, now it's going to calculate the balance down, another $40 for you. So it does keep track, and you can put notes in here. You can say which patient initials or whatever you want to put in there and build this invoice. And then when you're ready, you can save it and submit it. So that's your invoices. This is your reconciliation. If you need to recoup, you can actually now, I'll either do it for an overpayment or use that overpayment function to make an overpayment and then come back later and make credit. So you can offset that, and that function works pretty well compared to other systems. I've been able to use that pretty effectively. I want to get to reports for the last, I think I have 5 minutes left. So for reports over here, if you're using Looker, it's going to look a little bit different, but you effectively have the same reports. What I find to be very useful is this open accruals report in finance. So this first section tells you what has not been invoiced yet. These are fees that you have, one-time fees that you have pending. And oh, look, they didn't invoice the pharmacy setup fee. Well, that should have been invoiced because the startup's down here. It's been submitted. Why didn't they invoice the pharmacy setup fee? So you can see it. It's not just hiding somewhere. It's here in this list, and you can look at your one-time fees and say, yeah, everything got invoiced or didn't, and go through and look at that. Or you could come down and say, here's your startup invoice. It was submitted a month ago. Here, a month ago, it was sent in early June, and it's out of date. So somebody needs to follow up on that and find out why it hasn't been paid. So this report is very effective too. And I usually, actually, there's unpaid visits down here on the next one. I think they've updated the system for you. So you would be looking at uninvoiced items, unpaid invoices, and unpaid visits. And that's very important to be going through that. You can export all of these to Excel. And that's useful as well. So, in your historical payments, you can come over here and look at what's been paid. I only have one payment in at this point. Um, but you can come in and see what's been paid. You can sort in various ways, especially with Looker. You can sort and get the information by month, however you're looking at it. And then you can also go through, I like this revenue details report because it will show you all of your details. So here's everything that's been done. It'll show you what invoice it's on, if it's on an invoice. In this case, it's not. It'll show you if it's been paid, and it will um, give you, determine, any number of things are here, the amounts and the service date and so forth. So you can export this. I recommend exporting CSV so you have the values, but you can export this to Excel and resort and track it that way. So you're tracking your monthlies through your reports. So I like these reports. These are really good reports, and you can track those. Also, people use. There's two other functions in here that are great. There's the financials, go into the study. This cost function, we have clients, we don't actually do the cost function for you, but we have clients who use the cost function to great effect. So if you want to be able to pay your providers, your physicians, and link them to any particular procedure, you can actually set that up and select the vendor and have it set up so that you know what you owe them, and you can track it and you can pay them. Here's your invoices. So you set up, this is what's going to show up on the invoice. Then you can also set up this memo to show up on the invoice. And here are your fees. It shows you if it's been invoiced, you can't delete it. So that's one way you know if it's been invoiced or not. And this gives you per occurrence or up to or one-time fees that you can add to your invoices. And you can actually do forecasts. I think that CRIO has probably the best forecast system because you can determine how much you want to put into the visit amount, and how much of that you want to accept going forward. Maybe you want a lower rate. There's different ways to do it. And then you can put in your months and your estimates for what you think you're actually going to be enrolling going forward. If you work with this, you can actually get pretty good at it. And because you can adjust so many different things, and it allows you, the important thing here is that it actually allows you to forecast your screenings, because most systems just run out your current enrollment based upon the windows, but they don't put in your screening. And if you're not screening, everything kind of falls apart. So you need to be able to forecast out. It's monthly. Some people told me they'd rather have weekly, but even so, you've got the ability to forecast out to a certain extent, and then it'll forecast all of this over here in reports. Go back to finance, and you can forecast out. You can see how you forecast it out. So it takes that's a little tricky. It takes a little bit of work. The hardest part, of course, is knowing what your screen fail ratio is going to be and how many patients you're going to screen each month. But if you can get that down, you can pretty well forecast out your revenue. So I think I have 1 minute left. How are we doing? Anybody have any questions? Is there anything else that you want to see on this?
Let's see here. Feel free to put them in the chat. There was one is clinical research billing integrated with the CRIO platform as a complete package, or is that a separate feature that has to be activated separately? I know that usually, Kristi, in terms of being in the platform, do you just become a user in their CRIO environment?
Yes. So we would become a user, and we would have access to the system as a user. We'll have confidentiality agreements, HIPAA, BAA, Business Associates Agreement to cover the confidentiality on seeing patient names, obviously, and their health information. We'll have agreements to cover that. And then also a services agreement to cover our fees, because we do get paid for this. And then we would access your system and operate as an extension of your site. So we would effectively be representing you and we don't get paid. You get paid. We don't take the money. So we always make sure it goes to you. I don't want the money coming to us. I have to deal with that. So the money goes to you like always, and then we'll bill you for what came in the prior month. So
If you have any
anything else?
more questions
I'm
for
sorry.
Kristi, feel free to chat them now or feel free to contact her. You can jump into the partner directory and contact their team directly through there as usual. And Kristi has worked with many CRIO sites, so I'm sure they can likely attest to her services. Thanks so
Yep.
much, Kristi, for hopping on.
Sure. That
And
was fun.